This is the MLW Radio Network. This is the Mind of the Meanie. Here are your hosts, the Blue Meanie and Adam Barnard.
Peace world and welcome everybody to the Mind of the Meanie, your weekly peek into the world according to former WWE superstar and ECW original, the Blue Meanie. We cover wrestling, music, movies, sports, and lots of useless knowledge, all contained in the Mind of the Meanie. I'm your tour guide, Adam Barnard, and he is the Blue Meanie. Meanie, what's on your mind, brother?
It is Ask Meanie Anything, and I am ready to be asked.
Let's do it, Meanie. I got a question for you at the top of the show.
Yes.
It's a very important one, and everybody wants to know the answer to.
Yes, dear.
Are you ready to ask me?
I would love to. It's time to ask me anything. Ask me something.
Today is another full Ask Meanie Anything episode. Don't forget, you can ask all of your questions to the Blue Meanie by tweeting us at Mind of the Meanie, and we may ask them on the show. We're going to start right at the top here. Matt from Dover, Blue, he called you Blue because that's your first name now, according to Dave LaGreca from Busted Open. Blue. To the best of your ability, can you please explain Spin the Wheel, Make a Deal? A late Halloween Havoc question.
I'm assuming, well, I don't know if he's being ironic or not.
He might be.
Because I was at that Halloween Havoc as a fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 92 Halloween Havoc in Philly. I was right in the front row, right behind the, kind of like on the announcer side of the fucking ring. A little bit closer to the hard camera side. And, that was the Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal gimmick, which was so bad that it's gone down in like pro wrestling folklore.
Yep.
You know, I think they made reference, like now that WWE is continuing it, Halloween Havoc with the NXT brand. They had the wheel there, the Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal gimmick. But back then, that was like the weird years of WCW, where it's like they had, Mick Foley doing the Lost in Cleveland skits and all this other goofy shit. I don't know if it's still the Jim Herd years, but, it was interesting. I went to, the month before Halloween Havoc, we went to a regular old WCW house show. And I had front row tickets for that too, which is kind of weird. And they were like, we got to the Philadelphia Civic Center, and we knew that they were going to sell the tickets for the pay-per-view. So a whole bunch of us just got in line to buy Halloween Havoc tickets before the show. And the line was so long that they sent Dillinger, the security guy, over to try to get all of us to get out of line and go watch the show and then come back and buy them at intermission, because there's so many people in line that the show would look empty. There's nobody in the seats because they're all waiting in line to buy the tickets. So they had, Doug Dillinger, they had to go get somebody to open up the box office before the show. We bought our tickets and then watched the rest of the show. So, that's how I basically got my Halloween Havoc tickets for the next year.
Wow. But
to describe the concept, I guess basically it's just like any other thing. I don't know if they rigged it to be. I'm sure Conrad's covered this on one of his many podcasts with either Tony Schiavone or Bischoff or whatever. But the Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal concept, I don't know. I landed on the coal miner's glove match.
That's what I'm looking up right now. I'm looking up the rules to that, and boy, what a fucking shit show.
Yeah, it was kind of bad.
Yeah,
and it's.
I'm gonna read the rules to you right now while you try to explain it. The coal miner's glove match, which was with Sting and Jake the Snake Roberts at Halloween Havoc, 1992. Coal miner's glove was a big, heavy leather glove similar to a welder's glove. It had a band of metal wrapped around the knuckle area. The glove hung atop one of the ring posts about 10 feet high. The first participant to gain possession of the glove got to use it on his opponent, and that usually comes with the win. The pinfall was still needed, but after use of the glove. Fucking hell.
Well, the thing that stood out to me is if you look at that fucking match, it's like it was designed only Sting to win because they put the glove up there that high. I don't know if Jake could have made the fucking climb up the pole to grab it. You know?
Dude. Yeah.
And it looked like PVC pipe, which, I mean, if I tried to fucking climb up there, I probably would have buckled up, under the fucking pressure and just said, fuck this, and wind up nutting myself on the top fucking turnbuckle or something.
Could you imagine having to call that match?
Somebody did.
Oh, it looks like JR, I think, called it.
JR and Jesse Ventura.
Oh.
Jesse Ventura. Which
we
is
gotta
funny.
Get Carrie Crossy back on here to do the impression.
Yeah, but and Jesse Ventura's had a Dracula cape on or something like that. But yeah, that was it was cool to actually go. I'm starting to wonder if he asked that question specifically because he knew I was there. But
yeah,
that was I got to see Nikita Koloff's last match ever. That was
wow.
It was Nikita Koloff versus Vader, and they spilled out of the ring towards us, and it was me and my friend Justin, and a bunch of other strangers, which you couldn't tell that we were strangers because we're all just fucking chanting. We're chanting, use the chair, use the chair, use the chair, and fucking Vader picked up the chair and fucking hit Nikita with it, and we're like, yeah. But eventually, I think Nikita got hurt in that match somehow, and it was his last match at the Philadelphia Civic Center, which is historic yet sad because I'm a big Nikita Koloff fan.
Shackleford wants to know, what is Meanie's favorite Richard Christy and Sal Governow prank phone call from the Howard Stern Show?
Now, again, I'm wondering if this is an intentional question because I have been mentioned in 2 Sal and Richard prank phone calls.
Hey. It's the Blue Meanie.
Blue is my favorite. Yeah, I'm buddies with Richard and Sal.
Richard Christy.
From the Stern Show. And met them through... used to be a show in Philly called Kid Chris.
Yep.
And he would have a bunch of get-togethers, and Sal and Richard were there. I got to meet them, become friends with them. And there's a character named Riley. Well, he wasn't a character. He was a real person, but Riley Martin, who was a character. Like, he was like I'm a big fan of Art Bell type shit where they talk about UFOs, ghosts, this, that, the other thing. But this guy fucking claimed that he can reach aliens, and I can't. Okan Tanzanwa.
I was just trying to map it out in my head. Yep. Okan Tanzanwa, I think is what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking weird.
I'm trying to pull it up right now, see if I can find some of that weird shit from Stern.
Yeah. He had a radio show, and they gave him a radio show on the Stern channel. So they ribbed him, and they're like, hey, we want to give a shout out to some of our employees who've been working hard, here at, Sirius. And there's a list of fucking names they would give him, right? And they did the Bart Simpson of, huge penis or whatever.
Yeah, huge ass. Yep.
Yeah, Phil McCracken. But they're like, you know what? We need some legit names to throw in there, just so they're throwing him off the set. And they're like, and Riley goes, and Brian Heffron in the mailroom. So I was like, oh my God! I called them. They're like, yeah, we're fucking breaking his balls, making him say all these weird fucking names, but we had to throw in some legit names, legit sounding names. So they threw my name into the hat, and
that's awesome.
Became a part of Howard Stern folklore with that. But also, Richard Christy, Richard and Sal are huge wrestling fans.
Right.
So, but hey, pum. Fucking Richard would call like these. He was notorious for calling like public access shows and stuff like that. But I guess this one time he called into a live wrestling stream or whatever. Like they were talking about wrestling and stuff like that. And he would call in. He was like, "Yo, wrestling's not like it used to be. You know, I like wrestlers like, you know, Adrian Adonis." He would he was like, start naming all these wrestlers in like alphabetical order. And they would hang up. They're like, "All right, we get it. You're a big fan.
Yep.
All right, we're bringing back on. Just so you know, they bring him back on." He goes, "Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bob Backlund and Blue Meanie and and then, you know, they eventually hung up on him. But
so
I'm
great.
sure you could. These pranks are on YouTube somewhere. But yeah, it was pretty cool that. Yeah, it's pretty prestigious for me being a not lifelong. I mean, I discovered him in high school, you know, to get mentioned not in one phone call, but 2 prank phone calls on the Howard Stern show. Dude, like I was like hardcore Howard Stern, you know, in high school, but like I could never get up early enough to listen. And, I lived in Atlantic City at the time, and we couldn't pick up Philly stations over the air, right? But somebody smartened me up that if you take cable, like television cable, you know, the kind that goes into your cable box.
Yep.
You get a splitter, you put the cable in there, put the one cable to go to your TV so you get TV. But if you get one of those things that hook up to the antenna and you can screw the coaxial cable onto that, you can pick up Philadelphia station. You can pick up FM stations directly from Philadelphia.
Crazy.
And it would come through as crystal clear as like, you know, satellite radio now. There would be like no stack, no nothing. So that's how I listened to Philly stations. I was listening to WISP, all these other stations, but I wanted to listen to Stern in the mornings. So I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. and I have to leave the house in time to go to school. So what my creative ass did, which is not going to win me any fucking prizes or anything, but I was, thoughtful enough to, or creative enough to realize that if you put the cable into the fucking stereo, the sound out, the audio out, instead of having it go to a speaker, you run it into your VCR. So you put your VCR on, you put your TV on, you put the TV to a local community channel, which has like the clock on there and the ticker and all the community whatever. So like I would be watching that, and instead of, you know, you would get the video of that, but the audio from the radio, and you hit record. I could record the Howard Stern show to a VHS tape.
Oh.
With the video being the community fucking thing. So my VCR would kick on at 6 a.m., long record mode, and it would record the whole show. And I come home to listen, and I'd be watching the TV, and when they would go to commercial, would hit the fast forward, and I'd look at the clock to see how many minutes had gone by.
Yeah.
So I could gauge, like, when this hit play again. I would listen to the Stern show, you know, instead of 6 hours, it'd take me like 2.5 hours to listen to it, you know?
I remember those FM commercials felt like forever. They felt like they were so long, man.
Dude, I know many people who said, dude, I love listening to Howard Stern show, but if you got in the car at the wrong fucking time, it was all commercials.
Yes.
Like they would like front load, they would like pack all the commercials into one break so he can go an hour without, you know, fucking, you know, especially if you had like an interview on. Stuff like that.
You ended up with like fucking 10 minutes worth of commercials so he could go longer. You're like, oh my God, man.
Oh, sometimes it'd be 10 minutes, sometimes it'd be 15 minutes.
I sat in the break room that time. I told you I went to the show and I remember listening and being like, okay, that's that. Like it feels like when you do radio or any kind of broadcast, like you can feel that natural next step. Like you kind of like, okay, well now I feel like this is the last commercial they're going to play before you go to the next one. It was just like, holy shit, there's so many. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, well, as a kid, I could pick up that ebb and flow because, like, you watch certain TV shows. And you would pause, recording on a VCR, you hit pause during the commercial. You're like, okay, and they're coming back now. Yep. And you would hit the thing, and it just, your internal clock would start picking up on, the commercial breaks and stuff like that. But, you said you went to the Stern Show? I
did, yes. I went in 2000 I was out of high school, so it was probably 2003 or 2004. Nice. It was the, I don't know if I mentioned this. It was my buddy Jeff, was a trainer for Bally's. And they were doing a contest. It was called it From Lard Ass to Hard Ass. And winner it was two heavy set guys. And whoever lost the most amount of weight got a night with a porn star and like $25,000, thanks to Bally's, because Bally's was the trainers that were doing it. So Jeff calls. He's like, hey man, let's go to New York. And we went up to the K-Rock station and it was just like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm here. I didn't actually I got to see everyone but Howard, because Howard never leaves the studio. But I was able to get close enough, like when Jeff and them went back, I was able to get close enough to actually see in the studio. So I got to see like his side profile from where we were. So
that's cool enough,
close enough to the God, like it was crazy, man. It was a wild time. What was his name? Wood Yee was there. Artie Lang was still on the show and he was shit-faced drunk because he lost a ton of money at the NCAA event. And that was the day that Courtney Love walked by me smelling like an ashtray and butt. It was horrible. She called the show and was there and was like, oh, I'm in New York. So they rushed Jeff and the guys through. And I actually found the picture from the last time we talked. It's a picture of her. She's got this like shawl on. It looks like a chair, like a cheesecloth curtain that she's wrapped around herself. It's yellow, like she'd been smoking in front of it for 6 years. She had no shoes on. She was holding a rose. And it's wintertime in New York too, right? No shoes.
I think I remember this.
Yeah, nothing underneath it. And she shows up to the studio and she just like sashayed by us. It was like she was floating by us almost. And she smelled really bad. Like that's the one thing I remember was that she had a shit body odor. And like, I hate to be mean like that, but like you see Courtney Love and like the one thing you remember is fucking body odor. But I mean, it's exactly right, dude. It was like she walked by and just was like, oh, thanks. Courtney Love's here.
I'm just gonna fart to make it smell better in here.
Honestly, yeah, it was kind of crazy.
She had a headlock on a hoagie.
Yeah, of course. Headlock on a hoagie. No, it was bad. No, I mean it was a wonderful time. It was a cool experience. Talking to Baba Booey for like 10 minutes was really cool. Just chopping it up about his job and.
I always wanted to play Stump the Buoy.
Yeah,
I think I would win. Stump the Boo.
The Buoy.
Dude, like, especially late 70s, 80s music. Like, I have a friend, Albert, and his wife, Michelle's, like, in the same wheelhouse as me. And we've done the game where, like, he'll play, like, 30 seconds of a song, and we write down the name of the song and the artist. And she beat me by, like, 0.5. Like,
no shit.
It was fucking Stacy Q, 2 of fucking Hearts, and I couldn't remember Stacy Q. But I remembered 2 of Hearts, so she got the both, but I lost. But like, yeah, man, I love shit like that. I would love to go and Stump the Buoy or something like that. And
I'm just laughing, like I'm now thinking in my head, Baba Booey, like the idea that this man's name,
Robert A. Booey,
become Baba Booey.
Yeah, and you know how that came about, right?
Because he used to buy art sales, and one was Baba Louie. And he kept calling it Baba Booey, and Howard just kept fucking with him, and it ended up sticking. And it's just the fucking
dude. I missed the Billy West days of the Howard Stern show.
Yeah, dude.
And they would like prank call him. They're like, "Hi, this is Barbara." Barbara who? Barbara Booey. With the Jackie laugh.
Yep. On his Wikipedia page, they have other names: Baba Booey, Tata Toothy, Fafa Booey, Mama Monkey. Like they just listed all out. This is fucking. The best part is
Yes.
he started yelling it during golf.
Yeah.
So now they yell Baba Booey when they hit the ball. And it became such a thing that the PGA worked it into one of the videos.
Really?
They worked it into one of the video games. So when he Baba Booey.
That's amazing. Dude. I swear to God.
So good.
I swear to God this happened. I play MLB The Show.
Yep.
And I play Road to the Show. And on one of the fucking home runs, there was a Baba Booey on Road to the Show. And it happened once, and I never heard it again because I wanted to fucking record. Like somebody hit like a fucking grand slam. And I was like, oh my God. I was like looking around, and anybody else in the room to fucking hear this, but God damn it. That's so good. But, the Stern Show, man, that fucking so good.
Dude.
So good.
I have Sirius in the car, and now that I'm going to be driving a little bit longer for work, I gotta put it back on. But it's so good, man. The Baba Booey show is so great.
I got to go to the Sirius studios. Richard
that's cool.
Gave me the tour. And every time I went up, it's usually during like a holiday break. So I didn't really get a chance to see.
Yeah.
I think I met, I forget who I met. I know Shuley was there. Richard was there. Sal was there. I got to go in the Richard and Sal room.
Oh, that's cool.
Where they do all their pranks, and they show me how like they do everything. Like, they call and they got several different phones in there. It's kind of like what's his name? Oh my God, I can't think of his name. He does all the fucking voices.
It's not Sour Shoes, is it? No,
there's another DJ. Phil Hendry. It's kind of like Phil Hendry. If everybody familiar with Phil Hendry, he's like an amazing voice artist. He does cartoons, but like he would have a radio show, and he would be he would play the role of the straight fucking radio host, but then like he would go to the phones, quote unquote, and the person on the phone would just be him doing another voice, like, and he would go back and forth between the mic and the phone and argue with himself, like. And like people would call in to argue with the fake person, the fake guest.
Yep.
And then like it would go. Eventually, he broke kayfabe and let people, peek behind the curtain, which kind of disappointed me. But like it was amazing. So to go in the Sal and Richard room and see how they kind of did things was pretty cool. And they played me some stuff that probably never make air because little peek behind the curtain. When you do these prank calls, you got to call them back and get like permission.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so-and-so, we're just having a little fun with you. Can we play this for Eric? Oh, yeah, sure. And they record them saying it. But there's somewhere people are like, fuck you, So I got to hear some of the fuck you pranks that, would never make it the air. But, it was a cool experience to go up there and, see the studio and see the Jackie puppet and
yeah.
See the Baba Booey puppet and the Sibian and.
Oh man, I'd love to go up there again. K-Rock was a really cool experience to be there. Like it was just like you're like holy shit. I've been listening from well before I should have been allowed to listening to Howard Stern. But it was a great show. It was a great time.
That was like me with fucking listening to George Carlin. I'm amazed my family. My folks let me listen to George Carlin. They knew I was listening. I would go to the local video store and rent the VHS and be listening and laughing.
Yeah.
They knew, but they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, why is he listening to this? I was just thinking that my favorite Richard Christy phone call, though, was when he calls the, I guess he calls the buffet or he's calling like a restaurant and he's ordering stuff and then they layer his voice. So he's like, okay, well, I want to make sure I got this right. I got and he'd start reading off the food and then you'd hear his voice start talking like on top of it, but it's like a second off. So it's like, and it's like, and then they layer it with a third one and the person on the phone is trying to take the order like, hold on a second. I can't hear what you're saying. Oh, what's that? You having trouble with your phone? Oh, okay. Let me try again. So we want to order and then it would start all over again. Dude, that shit was
fucking brilliant.
Pop me, man.
Fucking brilliant. He called there's that one huge buffet out in like Lancaster or whatever. He called them and he had them fucking reading off the entire menu. He's like, I want to come out there. And, yeah. And then the ladies, like, for like 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, but a couple minutes, just like reading off the whole thing. He's like, oh, I missed that one in the middle, and just fucking hang up, you know. But, yeah, Richard and Tim, I love those guys, man.
So good.
Yeah.
Let me see what else we have going on here. We got a bunch of questions from Mark and Dryden. Hey, fellas, who is you and Adam's favorite Flyers players?
Oh, I mean, of course you gotta go with fucking Schultz. You know, they Hammer, you know.
Yep.
Who also appeared on a WCW pay-per-view. Well, yeah, WCW. He was on Slamboree from Philly. He was the referee for Nasty Boys versus Mick and Cactus Jack or whatever. He totally fucked up Brian. Jerry Sags. He did the thing where he, you know, pulled the shirt over and punched him and fucking gave him a fucking concussion. I was like, holy shit.
Jesus.
But, yeah, probably, you know, dude, I was born. Like the year after I was born, they won the 2 Stanley Cups. And for some reason, I vaguely remember being at the parade somehow. You know, in my stroller. Fucking words today, man, I swear. But I definitely remember when the Pope came to Philly. But I think I remember being at the fucking the Stanley Cup parade. But yeah, the whole Broad Street Bullies thing, I'm kind of disappointed. They were supposed to do, Rob Zombie was going to do a fucking movie based on the Broad Street Bullies.
Oh, yeah. Whatever happened to that?
Apparently, I guess a lot of the players want more money for their names to be in the movie or something like that. And, you know, he was in Philly for a little bit, you know, researching and doing everything, and it's never came about. But, yeah, that would have been a great fucking movie, you know.
Yeah.
But, it was like Boogie Nights meets Slapshot kind of thing. But then, you know, in the 80s, you got Eric Lindros and stuff like that. And those teams, when, we're going, you know, when they would go to, you know, Game 7 with the Edmonton Oilers and shit like that, that was a fucking legendary team too, with Lindros and going head to head with Gretzky. But, and the sad thing is, you know, fucking when Pelly Lindbergh died, like he was going to be the next big thing, you know, and then he passed away in his Corvette. And,
oh, jeez.
No, I'm sorry. He had a Porsche, and he was trying to navigate a corner and crashed his Porsche and died. And oddly enough, this is around the same time that Magnum TA crashed his Porsche.
Wow.
And became paralyzed. So it's weird. Like my two worlds were coming together with pro wrestling and hockey coming together with, you know, me losing Pelly Lindbergh. You know, when he crashed his Porsche, and then Magnum TA, he had to retire from wrestling because, you know, he nearly died crashing his Porsche, you know, trying to maneuver a turn, or he hydroplaned.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm a big fan of the old school, you know, Flyers, you know, it's definitely the Broad Street Bullies in that era. When they beat the shit out of the Russians.
Yeah. I would say for me, I wasn't old enough for the Broad Street Bullies. I came in like right after that. I was Legion of Doom time. So,
yes.
You know, my favorite Flyer was Eric Lindros. I just could not get enough watching him while he played. But, you know, Legion of Doom was Eric Lindros and John LeClaire and Michael Reinberg, right? Is that the three of them, or was Desjardins in there?
I'm thinking Desjardins, but I could be wrong.
I think he was involved with them or something. I know he was he was a part of that time. But yeah, I mean, we used to go for, probably every weekend, every Sunday. My uncle had tickets to the Flyers, and he would rotate me and all my cousins out to go with him. And that was the time. And, you know, getting to watch Eric Lindros play at the Spectrum and Legion of Doom time was cool, man. It was a good time. So I would say those are, for me, it was probably Lindros.
And that 80s era was weird because in Philly, cable is like still fairly new.
Yeah.
If you lived on the west side of Broad Street, you got cable.
Yep.
If you lived on the east side of Broad Street, they didn't have cable. So if you wanted to watch like a Flyers game, McCuskers in the 70s and 80s, they would do killer business because people who lived on the other side of Broad Street would walk over to go to the bar to watch the game. That's the only way you could watch the game back in the day. So,
well, the Flyers played on Prism, right? Was that the channel that they played on?
yeah,
Prism.
yeah. So if you didn't have cable, you were fucked.
Yep.
So people would have to go, from literally a street. You lived on the east side, you didn't get cable. West side got cable. You'd have to walk across the street to somebody's house or go to a bar that had Prism. And for those who haven't been listening to the show forever, Prism was like a local HBO equivalent, but it was like this Philly sports and mainstream movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, Prism was the shit, man. That was
Oh
the
my
fucking
God.
best shit, man. Love.
I'm still thinking. I know you were talking about getting a Prism tattoo, but I've been thinking about doing that as well.
We should, man. We should do it. Film it for the show. We give people the.
Well,
content.
I don't want to be I don't want to be twinsies. So.
Well, I'll get it on my right butt cheek, and you can get it on the left butt cheek. Get a variant. Get a variant cover, bro, like a comic book. It'll be fine. Martin Dryden's got more questions for us here. He actually might carry us through the rest of the show. Let's see if we can see here. He's got 2 questions about last week. 2 weeks ago's Raw. Now, what did you guys think about the Austin Theory segments and his match? We'll start there.
I did not see them, so that's that would have to be for you.
Well, actually, so first thing first, Shackleford just jumped into the show here. Also, patreon.com/Mind of the Meanie. Get to watch the show early and ad-free as we record and see our beautiful faces here. He actually said that the third man was Michael Reinberg. So that is the answer there. I honestly, I'm okay with them blowing up the character and starting from scratch. I was not a fan of.
So what happened for those who haven't watched?
Oh yes,
it
for the uninitiated. Yeah, so a couple weeks back now, they had Austin Theory cash in against Seth Rollins for the United States title. Austin Theory was Mr. Money in the Bank. They had him cash in, and he lost to Seth Rollins. And now they basically have him kind of starting from the ground up. He's ditched the selfie stuff, and he's a lot more angry. He hasn't shaven in a while, and he looks very much like a different person. But I'm okay with them blowing him up. I guess we could maybe kind of talk about that. What do you think about the way the process sometimes that they do character changes and character arcs, the way they kind of just stop everything?
Just like reinvent them?
Yeah. How do you feel about the way that they process them?
Well, I can only guess that maybe they did that because it had Vince's fingerprints all over it.
Right.
And the fact that, not that they're totally going to separate themselves from Vince McMahon, but in order for them to show highlights of this character, they're going to have to show a lot of old Vince clips, and stuff like that with him doing the selfie, the stuff at WrestleMania, this, that, and the other thing. It was very Vince heavy, as far as, I didn't even have a seltzer, sorry.
Little seltzer kiss there.
Yeah, seltzerless kiss. But yeah, it was probably a good thing to do. Like I said, the character was so involved with Vince, and that version of him would probably remind everybody of Vince. Like for instance, fucking Roman was like, Daddy's not here anymore. Stuff like that. So totally, Sheriff says, put a new coat of paint on him and let him be something new and reinvent it, which isn't a bad thing. A lot of characters. I mean, look how many times characters have evolved or reinvented themselves and stuff like that. So it could be a good thing. I mean, the old version of Austin Theory had a lot of heat. I don't know how much of it was good heat, bad heat, whatever, but it had heat. But have them, evolve into a new version of Austin Theory and see where it goes.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to the way they've been arcing him and kind of bringing him in as far as the U.S. title. It seems like while Roman is the top dog on both brands, it seems like they're doing a lot of work to make the Intercontinental belt and the U.S. belt like the top titles on the show. You know, making those quote unquote secondary or mid card titles like the top ace titles, while Roman is still, you know, sitting very well at the top of the card. So I appreciate the fact. I don't necessarily mind the fact that he cashed in for the U.S. title. I kind of wish they would have built it a little bit better, you know, as far as explained it that way. Like, hey, we're going to be, you know, working this in and this, that, and the other. But I don't necessarily mind that they did that. But again, I'm okay with the fact that they're blowing it up because, again, you're right. Like, there wasn't a ton of good heat. Like, it's bad heat because he was like a snappy little prick. You know,
right?
He was this nasty character, cocky, arrogant, hadn't really earned anything. And I mean, yeah, that's great for like cheap heat, but how are you going to sustain that long term? Like, let's just say, for example, Vince's plan was to use Austin Theory to take the belts off of Roman. How do you build on that long term? You know, like, is this, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I necessarily would have gone that route.
He cashed in on the U.S. title, you said?
He did. He cashed in on the U.S. title, I guess it was about 3 weeks ago now.
WWE's huge on firsts as well. You know, they love, you know, the first of anything. For the first time, somebody cashed in on a belt that wasn't the U.S., that wasn't the world belt or the universal belt, which kind of puts a fresh spin on the Money in the Bank concept, you know, where, you know, they love to say never before in world sports entertainment history has this person done that thing. So the fact that he cashed in on a U.S. title puts a whole new spin on the brand that anything can happen with the Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
You know, briefcase.
And it's cool because I guess, you know, the U.S. title is, you know, it's the same legacy that they've had since Jim Crockett Promotions and the NWA. The actual lineage of the belt goes all the way back to 1975. Yeah. And that's really cool that this belt still exists. You know, like it had a limited time where it wasn't defended. It looks like it was between 2001 and 2003. And now they've carried the same lineage forward. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just think sometimes they don't necessarily map everything out. You know, like they expect the fans to, I guess, maybe be smarter than they are, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But again, it's also like, well, maybe we should have, you know, laid or set the table a little bit better, in that regard, you know? Again, I'm not opposed to them blowing up Austin Theory and starting over. He has potential. You know, I mean, again, it's, and I don't mean to
he's definitely
it's not Mind of the Atom. It's not Ask Adam Anything, but you're asking me my opinion. They need to build new stars. Cody is coming back. You know, they need to rehab Drew a little bit. But you have Austin Theory. You have guys like Apollo Crews that are still sitting on the sidelines. Mustafa Ali. You know, Matt Riddle, rather. I mean, you have guys, Damian Priest. These guys are all potential huge stars. How do you take the clay and the foundations that are there and make them Rock level or Austin level or Roman level? You know, not everybody can be a John Cena, but you do need people to carry the brand. It can't just be every once, you know, it can't be every 10 years. You have a John Cena and then a Roman Reigns, you know. But again, it's, you know, I don't know. I don't hate it. So a time will tell, brother, as they say.
Yes. Brother.
Derek Sabato, friend of the show, has a question for us here. He wants to know, Meanie, when are we going to talk about the old Philly Indie Wars?
Shout out to Derek Sabato. He does a lot of the research for the Conrad shows.
Shout out to the Ad Freak Shows team.
Yeah, but I've known Derek forever. He refereed. He worked for CZW. Great guy. And we've been talking a lot over the course of the Phillies. That's why he's a Philly sports fan like me, too, so we're going back and forth. But, yeah, man, back, was it, 2002 to 2005, maybe? There was this thing dubbed the Philly Indie Wars or whatever. It's right in the ashes of when ECW had gone away. And I felt like there was a void in the Philadelphia independent scene, and started, doing 3PW, Pro Pain Pro Wrestling, 3Ps, Pro Pain Pro, 3Ps, 3PW. As soon as we announced the first show for 3PW, there's a press release, our video plans on doing Ring of Honor. And we're like, fuck.
Shit.
Right? And CCW was doing shows, but they were still running out of like South Jersey. But it's like the perfect storm of like, okay, here's a perfect time to move in, and run shows in Philly, run shows at the ECW Arena. And then, two other promotions that basically had the same fucking concept of running Philly. And it caused a little bit of friction for a little bit between myself and, the ROH guys and the CZW guys and stuff like that, to where, we were running shows at the same night, which typically isn't really an ideal thing to do. You never want to make the fans choose. It's kind of like when a boyfriend goes, it's either him or me, and she picks the other guy just out of spite, So, the Philly Indie Wars were like a thing for a while. And then, trying to think, CZW was running ECW Arena, 3PW was running ECW Arena, Ring of Honor was running the Murphy Rec Center, which is right off of Oregon Avenue, like a block over. And then they start running the Armory in the Northeast, but like we were running, there was like almost a show a week in Philly. If you're like a wrestling fan in Philadelphia, it must have been a great time for you to be a fan, because you could go to a show once a week on the weekends, and you always try to outdo each other and stuff like that, and bring in names. But there's like one time where we got together with CZW and had like a little bit of a dream match with Wife Beater and Zandig versus Raven and Sandman. So there's points where we actually start working together. But it wasn't until XPW started, trying to move from California to the East Coast, and they tried to, have exclusivity to the ECW Arena. Rob Black and company, they got a lease. Word. Supposedly they had a lease. They were paying the arena X amount of dollars to be the only wrestling company to run the ECW Arena. So that was fucking stupid on their part, because say they came to Philly and ran the ECW Arena, and they were like the fourth show. Like there's, instead of 3 shows a month, there's 4 shows, where they would have shared the building with us. Mm-hmm. Everything would have been fine. But now you're kicking us out of the ECW Arena, and you're trying to run the ECW Arena. I just guaranteed that CZW and 3PW and Ring of Honor were all going to run head to head with them.
Right.
And it wasn't until like this one show, maybe 2004, we got thrown out of the ECW Arena because they had a quote unquote lease, and they were doing a back-to-back show, a Friday-Saturday show at the ECW Arena. We were going to do a Saturday show. We were running the Electric Factory, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I had a connection over there, and my buddy Jerry's a huge wrestling fan. He's like, hey, you want to run shows at the Electric? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So they did their Friday show, and the ring announcer gets in the ring and goes, tomorrow's show is canceled. The one that was supposed to go head to head with 3PW, they canceled their Saturday show, and that was the last show they ran.
Wow.
Yeah, and like all the fans that had tickets for XPW came over to the Electric Factory for the 3PW show at the Electric Factory, and some of the workers who were supposed to work stopped by and stuff like that. But eventually, it just, 3PW went out of business, for things beyond our control. Ring of Honor kept running, CZW kept running. But I'll say this, as much as fun as it was fun to run shows, but it was also, there was an anxiety that came with it that I really don't miss.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah. Is it like, Like, what is that like? Like, what does that do to you emotionally? Like you're getting ready to run a show. Like, what does that feel like?
Oh, well, here's the show I have in mind. And then here's the actualities of, is that person going to show up? Is that person going to make their flight? Is that person going to agree with the booking? And then, the thing you've been promising and advertising becomes a whole other thing, and you feel like you've let the fans down. And there was other issues too, which for another time, But it was fucking highly stressful, highly anxiety inducing, and something that made me appreciate just being a wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody asked me my opinion, I could give them an opinion on what they want to do with their show, but I would never want to be a booker or anything ever again. Just the bullshit you got to put up with, and stuff like that. So anytime somebody's like, I think about running shows, I go, why? Why
bother?
You want to try and make money? Do an autograph show. Yeah. Nobody's going to worry about who's losing, who's going over, this, that, and the other thing. People just go to their table, sign the things, and they're done.
Dude, I'm telling you, when I was working with Lawler a couple weeks ago at Super Jersey, seeing behind the curtain of how some of that stuff works, it's like, wow, this shit is easy. All you got to, you know what I mean? It's like, here's a process. Here's what you got to do here. Here's this part. This is what you need to do, as far as like pays and stuff. And man, it's simple. It's just, it's stress-free, it feels like.
Dude, I was going to, me and Miss Me were just talking about this the other night. Anytime somebody passes away, they're like, we're going to do a benefit show. I'm like, why?
Right.
You're better off, if you want to raise money for the family, just do a beef and beer.
Yeah.
Just, you'll make more money that way look, if you're going to run a wrestling show, before you even announce it, consider yourself 10 grand in the hole. If you're going to run a good show, you're at least going to be 10 grand in the hole, because you got to run the building, you got to run the ring. Depending on where you're at with the license, you got to find somebody with a license. Then you got to advertise the show. Then you got to make tickets. Then you got flights. Then you got hotels. And then, you got to pay the wrestlers.
Right.
So easy 10 grand in the hole before you even announce that you're running a show. Whereas if you would just do, a buddy of mine passed away a couple years ago that I went to wrestling school with. They're like, I think we're going to do a benefit show. You want to be on? I was like, look, I'm not going to work a show for free, and you're not going to make money running this show. Just do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude.
Benefit shows don't make money. Just knowing everything that goes into it. If you want to do it, rent out a bar and, buy a couple kegs and pay X amount of dollars per beer and for sandwiches, and you'll raise more money doing it that way than, trying to do a benefit show. So, just the whole Philly Indie Wars thing was an interesting time, a stressful time, and but I don't regret it, because you got to do some cool things. I was buddies with the guys from the band Saliva, and they were in town. I went to see them, and I went up to the drummer. I was like, Paul, I was like, hey man, can you wear my 3PW shirt on stage tonight? He's like, well, I promised somebody I was going to wear this shirt tonight, but tomorrow we're doing Survivor Series in New York. I'll wear your 3PW shirt on WWF. And I'm like, okay.
Yep.
So they went and did, was it Sunday Night Heat before, did that skits or whatever. And he said, they just walked in, looked at our shirts, made sure it wasn't like Nike or anything. And they're like, they okayed the shirt. So they did a backstage segment, and they played Jericho to the ring, and they played another song. And if you look at the drummer, he's wearing my 3PW shirt that I gave him the night before at they were playing the Trocadero.
Oh, that's crazy.
So the next night, a shirt that I designed, myself and got printed up. He made it on WWF television.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
super cool, man. I would love to dig deep into the Philly Indie Wars sometime on one of these episodes. So maybe we can map that out if you're interested. Go long form someday. Last question for this show from Mark and Dryden. What would you say is the most positive and most negative thing ECW contributed to professional wrestling?
Oh, man. Oh, positive. I mean, they forced WWE and the other, WCW to be a little bit more edgy. There's edgier content and stuff like that. And it forced WWE to stop being so cartoony. And I don't blame them, in the 80s and through the 80s to the early 90s, WWE was a little bit cartoonish because Vince McMahon, being smart, realized if you aim your product towards kids, if the kids want to go to the show, the kids can't buy the tickets by themselves. So you're buying tickets for kids. Now the parents have to buy tickets. So you're getting four tickets out of one family.
Right.
So that's where you're making your money, aiming towards kids. The kids want to go. Well, you gotta bring the parents. The kids gonna want a T-shirt, this, that, and the other thing, and the toys and all that stuff. But towards the run with Doink, they literally brought in the clown. They said, "Oh, wrestling's such a circus." Well, here's a clown. But I like the evil Doink. I'm not even going to knock that. I like the Matt Bourne Doink.
Yeah, you know what, dude? I was going to say I enjoy, like, Evil Doink scared the shit out of me as a kid. I thought that was great.
It was a little Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
And shout out, Paul did wonderful things with ECW, but also shout out to Todd Gordon, Bob Ortiz, his wife Lex Ortiz, and the late, great Larry Winter, who, again, there was a wrestling promotion before ECW called Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. Joel Goodhart was running these super shows, and eventually he went out of business. So that, Bob Ortiz, Lex Ortiz, and Larry Winters met Todd Gordon at his Carver W. Reed store in Center City. I was like, man, there's a void. Kind of like the 3PW show. I was like, man, there's this void in the wrestling scene. And that's how they came up with ECW. Just like they started running shows at the Mike Schmidt's Sports Bar and the Chestnut Cabaret and all this stuff. And, the early shows were a little rough to watch, but, it grew into this thing. And I think, the positive thing ECW did, it was brought, this influential style. It was like this melting pot of Japanese style, of lucha libre. There's a little bit of hardcore. Everybody thinks it was all hardcore, blood, guts, and everything. And that's how, we portrayed ourselves. That was, the footage on the scissor reel. But then again, you would see, Jerry Lynn, you would see Tommy Rogers, Rob Van Dam, Sabu, doing Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko classic.
Yeah.
Some of the best wrestling, happened in ECW, and, it's got, there's a reason why people still cheer about it to this day. Negative, I don't know. It's just, maybe it's spawning a bunch of copycats, and in some ways, ECW definitely borrowed from Memphis. ECW borrowed from Japan with FMW and stuff like that and brought that to the States. But it was definitely heavily Memphis influenced. And people would see, the Terry Funk, Sabu, barbed wire match, and stuff like that. So then people are like, oh, what are we going to do,
Right. How are we going to top this? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the bad thing about, some of the hardcore stuff, how do you go on top it,
Well, if I jump in for a second too,
Sure.
I think what appeals to me for something like the Terry Funk, Cactus Jack, barbed wire, exploding death matches, and ECW, because I feel like I kind of put those two together.
Yeah.
I think more of the hardcore, I don't want to call it mud show because that's not the right word, but it's like the hardcore, like GCW kind of style. I don't know, man. There's something about it that misses for me because I feel like it's a lot like violent movies, right? Like when you watch The Sopranos, you know that the violence, or like a mafia movie from the 80s or the 90s, even Godfather, the violence is based upon the story, right? There's a reason for the violence.
Yeah.
Whereas something like that, like the hardcore deathmatch shit recently, it's gore for the sake of gore and violence for the sake of violence. There's no story behind it, right? When you watch like I don't want to say like a New Jack match, but even if you watch like one of the Dudley matches, they're throwing people through tables and, the spots that they used to do and some of the more violent, edgy stuff you guys did during that time, it was story level to it. There was a reason behind it. Do you feel the same way where it's kind of a miss sometimes? Or do you think it's just where you're like, whoa, that's a lot. Like that feels like a lot in one space.
Yeah, it's just, and here's the thing. Sometimes I'm a little critical of the hardcore stuff now. And people are like, well, you can't have no right to talk. You were in ECW. I was like, actually, that's how I formed my opinion because I was in ECW. And I saw what some of that hardcore stuff did to New Jack, what it did to Axel, what it did to Balls Mahoney. And that shit lasts a while. And I don't care how much money they're fucking paying you. If you have to go to a hospital, whatever they pay you is not going to cover the hospital bill and the care you're going to need down the line when the effects of everything you've done catches up to you, especially with that light tube shit.
Yeah. Oh,
and you got the powder in there that's I'm pretty sure causes cancer. You get that into your bloodstream and all that stuff. So it's not I'm not coming from a place of man yelling at the cloud and back in my day shit. I'm coming from a place of guys, you got to take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
And guys, I don't want to see people end up like how some of my friends have ended up. Yeah. That's where I'm coming from. And maybe that's the slight negative that there's people who wanted to be the next ECW, but missed the plot. They missed the plot point of what ECW was.
Right.
ECW was an attitude. It was a moment in time that, I call it the Haley's Common of pro wrestling. It shined bright and real quick, but, the people who saw it at the time were affected by it forever. There's a reason why people still cheer that and not, hear AWA chants, You
hear ECW, right?
Yeah.
It was a feeling. It was an emotion. It was a time, and you had to be there, and it can't be replicated. That's why everybody's like, oh, they're trying to bring back the Attitude Era. It's like, honestly, dude, I don't want the Attitude Era back. Because even anybody who does the Attitude Era is not going to do it, or, quote unquote, tries to do the Attitude Era. It's not going to be the Attitude Era. It's going to be something that is a very clear fake of the Attitude Era. I don't want it. I don't want to watch it. I've watched all that. If I want to watch it again, I can go back and watch it. But the reason that it was so great is because it was special. It was at the right time, at the right place, with the right people.
And the right opposition with WCW.
Right. It felt like everybody was fighting each other, and it was cool.
It was like an arms race.
Yeah.
Between WCW and WWE, and ECW kind of paid the price for it, but WWE, ECW was definitely underneath the WWE umbrella.
ECW was the Cuba in the 1960s arm race between the United States and the Soviet Union. That's a very good analogy and a very good way to end up Ask Meanie Anything, this edition here. We thank you all for the questions all the time. We love it. This is our favorite segment of the show.
Yes.
And we really enjoy this. So please make sure you're always just sending the question to us because we love asking them. But Meanie, more importantly, after they are done listening to this episode, where can people find you on social media?
And before I get to that, thanks to everybody for their questions. Really, it's just like, we talk. Yeah, I love talking with Adam, but the Ask Meanie questions helps jar a lot of memories loose, and it helps gets the juice flowing. So thank you to everybody who's contributed, whether it's through the hashtag or right here, our pod squad in the chat room here. So go to patreon.com/MindandMeanie if you want to join us live. But if you want to follow Blue Meanie on all forms of social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and is Twitter still here? Let me check.
I'm not sure. We were in the future now, so we're listening in the future from the past. So maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I'm Ron Burgundy.
I don't know.
At Blue Meanie BWO on all forms of social media. I'm on Mastodon, but that link is a little bit too long to give out. Christmas is near and the Blue Meanie Santa Buddy is here. The limited edition, very limited edition, Blue Meanie Santa Buddy by the Brothers Gather is a fun Christmas take on the original Blue Meanie Buddy they did a couple years ago. So go to brothersgather.com and click the shop button and get your Santa Meanie Buddy today. Limited supplies last. Don't miss out. If you want to support the Blue Meanie, go to prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie. If you would like to support Mind of the Meanie, go to prowrestlingtees.com/Mind of the Meanie. See how that works? Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand, go to collarandelbowbrand.com. Use coupon code MEANIE to support the Blue Meanie. But did you know you can also use coupon code MIND to support Mind of the Meanie? That's right. Mind of the Meanie is now part of the Collar and Elbow brand family. So use coupon code MEANIE or MIND, save 10% and support the show. Now you got all those fancy shirts. Yeah, if you're a beardophile like myself, you have to go to madcatbeardcare.com. That's right. My boy Josh Thornton over there at madcatbeardcare.com is producing the Blue Spruce beard oil and beard balm. He's even got a shampoo. Did you know that?
I did not.
Probably not because I'm stupid and I forgot to mention it. But go to madcatbeardcare.com, get the Blue Spruce, hook up Josh, who hooks up all the feral cats in this neighborhood, takes care of them, and takes care of the kitties. Now, shout out to my boy Jim Nelson over at glaciersofIce.com. Jim, my boy Jim, made a 3 of 3 only handmade custom Air Jordan BWO1. Let me start that one over. Jim made a 3 of 3 handmade custom BWO Air Jordan 1 sneakers for Steve Richards, Supernova, and myself. Each pair takes Jim about 50 hours per pair to make those wonderful shoes that I'm afraid to wear. Quite honestly, I'm afraid to wear them. But you can follow Jim on all forms of social media, if Twitter's still there, at GOI Kicks, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Again, if it's still there, at GOI Kicks. Cameo.com/Blue Meanie. Go there for birthday wishes, holidays, graduations, divorces, whatever you want. You know, wherever floats your boat, go to cameo.com/Blue Meanie BWO, and I will send a very thoughtful, helpful, hopefully helpful video message to you. But most importantly, Mr. Barnard, where can we find you?
You are so thoughtful and kind. Thank you, Mr. Meanie. If you want to find me on social media, Instagram, soon to be hopefully Mastodon, and if Twitter still exists, I'm probably there at This Is Goober. Yes, it's my handle. Yes, I'm keeping it. It's a brand, pal. You can also go and listen to my other show, Foundation Radio, at foundationradio.net. That is my interview show, and lots of great conversations and stories to be told there, foundationradio.net. If you want to try to get buff and big like me for the upcoming summer season, bikini season will be here around the corner for us fellas.
Yeah.
The Feinbergmethod.com. My trainer, Brad Feinberg, is changing lives all over, not just physical health, but also mental and emotional well-being health. He's a great guy, great program. Check him out, thefeinbergmethod.com. Consultations are free, and tell him that Goober sent you. He'll know exactly who you're talking about because he gave me that name. So, also check out Pro Wrestling Tees. That's a true story, guys. ProWrestlingTees.com/Foundation Radio. Pick up a shirt. ProWrestlingTees.com/Mind of the Meanie. Keep the lights on at Casa de Meanie, and also at the Barnard Home for Wayward and Troubled Youth. Go ahead and check it out there. Patreon.com/Mind of the Meanie. Sign up today. Every dollar that we get for the show goes back into keeping the show running, so we cannot do this without you. Thank you so much. Twitter, Instagram, eventually Mastodon, Mind of the Meanie. Find us everywhere. Meanie, again, thank you so much for your time. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we will see you again. Pod Squad, thank you very much.
Gobble, gobble.
We appreciate you. For the Blue Meanie, I am Adam Barnard. Join us again each and every week as we take a trip through the mind
Blue world
of the
order.
Meanie. Peace.
Blue world order. This episode of Mind of the Meanie was recorded and produced by Adam Barnard and was engineered by Carl Pinnell. Additional production and narration provided by Sam Krefs. Our executive producers are Josh Chernoff, Adam Barnard, and the Blue Meanie. Our opening theme is performed by the Swamp Candles. Our closing theme is performed by Chikara. The show contains original music produced by Enrichment. Get additional bonus content by becoming our patron on Patreon at patreon.com/Mind of the Meanie. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Mind of the Meanie. This has been a Butts Carlton media production in conjunction with the MLW Radio Network. Butts Carlton, proprietor. Blue world order.
That was Blue Meanie's brain out.
The world of MLW Radio never stops.